Warhammer 40,000's Imperium of Man has no shortage of enemies. Hostile Xenos, mad cults, even the corrupting forces of chaos all have it out for humanity. But the Imperium's worst enemy is always itself. I'm Paul, combat veteran, MMA fighter, and YouTuber, and today we are looking at 5 times the Imperium's own strategies backfired. Number 1 is the Siege of Vraks. The story of Vraks starts with a rogue cardinal who decided he was tired of those lazy imperial bureaucrats telling him what to do in his subsector. So he did the reasonable thing and raised an army, killed the Imperium's officials, and declared himself sort of independent from the Imperium. He even seized a critical armory world called Vraks. This is what's known as a mistake. The Imperium, naturally, decided to crush the rebellion, but instead of just starving the world or launching exterminatus like a civilized authoritarian government, they decided that by launching a ground invasion, they could defeat the rebellion and still preserve the infrastructure of their armory world. The Imperium sent in dozens of regiments of its Death Corps of Krieg, the Imperium's siege specialists. These millions of professional troops were sure to make short work of what was essentially an untrained rabble militia. This backfired horribly, however. The Death Corps was commanded not by an experienced professional officer, but a politically well-connected scion of a wealthy imperial family who had little combat experience. Also, the capital city of Vraks was ringed with fastidiously crafted defensive perimeters littered with mines, barbed wire, bunkers, artillery, and more. Not only that, but the ragtag militia included enough local PDF defectors that they were able to establish a proper military organization and get proficient on their weapons. Since the Cardinals' forces were the defenders and were already dug in, the Death Corps had their work cut out for them. Thanks to some seriously poor leadership, the Death Corps were ordered to charge recklessly at enemy lines, assuming the defenders would wilt under the pressure. Instead, they just seemed to dig in harder, and the longer the grueling campaign of Vraks went on, the more entrenched the defenders became. Worse still, the Cardinal began to acquire more and more powerful allies. First, the Alpha Legion of Chaos Space Marines offered their services, and soon thereafter, Demons of the Warp, monsters, and mutants began to reinforce the rebellion's lines. What started as a paltry rebellion of a few million untrained humans had spiraled into an epic battle between the forces of Chaos and the Imperium. All told, retaking Vraks took nearly 17 years. The planet that the Imperium had hoped to reconquer with its valuable infrastructure intact was instead a nearly uninhabitable toxic wasteland of poison, rot, and unexploded ordnance. Some 12 million guardsmen were dead, and the entire population of Vraks, save a handful of prisoners, were dead. And I bet you never thought you would hear this, exterminatus would have actually saved lives. Number 2 on our list is the Thunder Warriors. When the Emperor of Man decided to start his reconquest of Earth, he needed a game-changing weapon, something to give him the tactical advantage over the other competing techno-warlords of old Earth. For that advantage, the Emperor created a group of genetically engineered super soldiers who were obedient, aggressive, and more powerful than any human warrior. This strategy worked out great for Big E at first. His powerful warriors laid waste to their enemies, allowing him to reconquer Earth with ease. However, his plan soon began to backfire. See, engineering ultra-strong, ultra-aggressive supermen and then giving them powerful weapons isn't actually all that great a strategy. See, these Thunder Warriors' genetic engineering required some trade-offs. Namely, that to achieve that level of aggression and martial intelligence, they had to pay a price in mental stability. Thunder Warriors would commonly lose their sanity as time went on. Also, because the Thunder Warriors were enhanced as adults, they were even less biologically stable than Space Marines. They commonly rejected their transplanted organs and enhancements, or even experienced a total metabolic collapse. Even worse still, since they were meant for war and only war, they would not have a role in the Emperor's future peaceful galaxy. When the Emperor conquered Terra, the only way he could ensure that these now unstable warriors, more potent than the Space Marines themselves, would never rebel, was to kill them. So the Emperor did what he pretty much always does and killed off his loyal, devoted subjects the moment they were no longer useful to him. Number 3 is the Cryptman School of Countering Tyranids. See, when the Imperium found a massive Tyranid hive fleet bearing down on the galaxy, they needed to find a way to stop them. And with the Imperial Guard already stretched thin, the Inquisition was short on options to exterminate the galaxy's largest roach infestation. It was then that Inquisitor Cryptman had a genius idea. He would just exterminatus worlds in the Tyranids' path. By purging them of all biomass before the Tyranid hive fleet could arrive, he found they could be diverted into a sector of the galaxy dominated by the Imperium's other enemy, the Orcs. And this plan, of course, is going to backfire horribly. See, the problem with having your enemies fight each other is that it only works if fighting makes them weaker. In the case of the Orcs, the more they fight, the stronger they get, as long as they survive. And with the Tyranids, they absorb the biomass of whatever enemies they best in battle. So no matter who wins, the victor will emerge stronger. Much stronger. Number 4 is Hive Cities. Now it may seem obvious that Hive Cities are both essential to the Imperium's ability to recruit those trillions of fighters needed for the Imperial Guard, Navy, and of course servitors and penal laborers. And mashing people together in what are basically the human equivalent of a puppy mill seem like a really efficient way to do that. As an added bonus, the Imperium has these poor wretched souls engage in productive work, making custodian armor polish or lasgun cleaning fluid, while they wait for the next apocalyptic Xenos or Chaos invasion. It all seems like a win-win for almost everyone, except for the factory worker who works 18 hours a day and is then drafted into the Guard and deatomized by a Necron a million light years from his home. This highly effective and compassionate system has shockingly backfired for the Imperium, thanks to our friends the Tyranids. See, the Tyranids have a specialized vanguard force, the Genestealers. These Tyranid lifeforms land on a world, entrap unsuspecting people, and indoctrinate/brainwash them into worshipping the Tyranid hive mind. These cults would be a pain in the Imperium's side if they were confined to just small, sparsely populated agrarian worlds. However, when you have a brainwashing supercult emerge on a world with billions or even trillions of people who are already leading miserable lives, well, it has the potential to quickly spiral out of control. Genestealer cults on Hive worlds grow exponentially, and the powerful Hive cult is one example. This militant Tyranid Genestealer cult has conquered all but one of their home planet's Hive cities and has spread throughout the Imperium, even emerging in the Sol sector. Suddenly, Hive cities just look like Genestealer cult revolutions waiting to happen. But of course, the number one strategy that has backfired for the Imperium is of course the brainchild of Big E himself. See, the Emperor couldn't be bothered to finish his reconquest of the galaxy before he needed to go and work on his Webway project. So he decided to make the very reasonable decision to put his favorite son in charge. Now, this isn't saying much because the Emperor really didn't give a crap about any of his sons, so being the one he had the least apathy for was no great accomplishment. Worse still, his 19 other sons all considered themselves at least equal to and more often than not better than their brothers. As such, they really couldn't stomach the idea of one of their peers being put in charge. And as you can imagine, being named the Emperor's favorite son and War Master kinda went to old Horus's head. Also, the taint of chaos was literally stabbed into him. Anyway, the point is, it didn't take long after the Emperor dipped out and left Horus in charge that Horus started getting some bright ideas of his own. Namely that the Emperor wasn't so good for humanity and things would be better off if he was in charge. And these ideas didn't come from nowhere, to be sure, but if Jimmy Space had stuck around, chaos probably would have backed off of Horus. I'll spare you the grisly details, but let's just say some things were said, some people did some things that they shouldn't have, and trillions of innocent lives, hundreds of planets, and countless champions of humanity were dead by the end of it. In addition to a nearly unprecedented destruction of human civilizations on countless worlds, Horus also mortally wounded the Emperor, leaving the Imperium rudderless and free to devolve into the quasi-religious theocracy he had been trying to avoid. Well guys, that has been 5 times the Imperium strategies have backfired. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more videos and let me know in the comments if you have other times that the Imperium strategies backfired. And of course, until next time, I will see you guys later.